is called this forward, upward motion with drops in one ocean. Roll on.
Will you rise up with me today? Lift up your voice and boldly say, we are the ones we've been waiting for.
If the dream of your highest calling be the hope of a new day dawning, we're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Share your gifts with the world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's a moment for our greatness. Let's stand together now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to AGNT Speaks. I am your host, Rev Erin, and I serve gratefully on the AGNT Leadership Council, led by Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith. And we are filled with a team of incredible leaders that come together to bring to you the inspiration behind the Association for Global New Thought. And we stand on a living legacy of incredible beloveds who have come before us. So it is my delight to host AGNT Speaks, which is our experience of bringing to you a conscious conversation each week. So thank you for joining us here. And I want to give a shout out to Robert Brzezinski and the New Thought Media Network for hosting AGNT Speaks. So this is new for us, and they have a great thing going on here at the New Thought Media Network. And a lot of organizations, a lot of individuals are hopping on board and getting the support of this network, which allows you to get out to more people. So some of you have probably been used to joining us in a Zoom room for quite some time, and now you're able to connect on multiple platforms. So whether you're going to the AGNT Facebook page, or whether you're joining us here on the network, or whether you're at Unity Village Chapel or one of our YouTube sites, you have a variety of ways to participate. You can still comment and engage us here, and so feel free to do that on whatever platform that you're on. So often we have leaders from AGNT on this panel with us, and sometimes we have friends of AGNT on this panel with us. So I want to give a warm welcome. I am so happy to have on today with me Shea Maultsby. Shea is a leader, a spiritual leader at Unity of Sussex County, and I know her from my time in Unity of Montclair. I used to be the minister out in New Jersey at Unity of Montclair. I'm now serving at Unity Village Chapel at Unity Village, but it was an incredible time, and so many of us that got to participate in that time, it's just like going back to the glory days, right, Shea?
That's correct.
We have stayed connected and reconnected, and I wanted to have you as part of this program today. So I'm really glad that you're here. I consider you to be a woman of incredible prayer and in consciousness and awareness. So thank you for being a part of this experience today. Is there anything you want to share with people about who you are, what you're doing, what life looks like right now?
Oh, sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be on this platform. I enjoy everything that AGNT is associated with, and I'm just happy to have a conversation with you. I mean, we do get to speak, which I'm happy about, and I'm glad to be able to continue this conversation. So you already mentioned that I'm now the spiritual leader of a Unity in New Jersey, which I love. I love the community. And really, I'm just trying to make sure that we move beyond our walls and that we really help a more expansive community where, Unity has traditionally been prayerful and meditative and going within. And I very much resonate with that. However, the going within helps to guide us into what is next in our own involution and evolution. And we're at a time of great evolution. So we're called to do more, I believe, more than what we've done before, so that we can live better and better each and every day and help others to do the same.
Yes. And I like what you said. We talked the other day about that there's something emerging, and in the younger generations, it's not enough to be in a spiritual community that just does what is so powerful, which is pray, meditate, do your own work. but it's really the new paradigm is that social action, social activism, social consciousness, social awareness, that these things in this emergent generation that really is, a part of all of us, these things are not separate from who they are. It's actually born in them. And so to have spiritual centers and spiritual conversations and spiritually minded people that sometimes have disconnects between the practice of the principle and the principle itself, right? So there's oneness and there's love of source and spirit and all of that. But then if it's not applied when it comes to the environment, if it's not applied when it comes to social justice and social action, if you say, that I believe in unity, I believe we're all one, and then, you do actions that don't represent that, if you
Yes.
still have bigotry in your heart, or you still judge and think of people as less than and other people as more, or somehow more elite, or somehow more deserving, or somehow more worthy, then that's not walking the talk. And so we've had some great conversations about that, how these are not like clubs, groups,
That's right.
just actions to participate in to look good on paper. This is a way of life, right? It's a way of
Yes.
consciousness.
Exactly, exactly. And what I think I said related to the millennials, and it's not just the millennials. I actually see this in I'm going to say a lot of people under the age of 50, that and definitely it becomes more intense. I'll use that word on purpose. Intense for people who are even younger. That it's not something they do. It's something they are. It is a way of being for them, and our principles can help support them in ways that they may not feel supported. And the people who have been, quote unquote, doing this thing, doing this new thought thing, um, it's it's a time for more expansiveness, right? Expanding our consciousness, our awareness. And it still may not be that one has to move their feet the way another has to, but what are we being called to? And are we hearing the call and heeding the call? And are we willing to deal with some things that might be a little fearful, right? Some things that we don't think we're called to do sometimes has a little fear around that. So the younger people, they want to be supported. They want to have change. They want to see themselves represented in all walks of life, and they want to see other people represented. It's not just about them. It's we have the iPhone, right? We don't have the We phone. We have the iPhone, but they're bringing a we consciousness. They really are. It's a beautiful thing. And we talk about the God principles, the spirit principles, and to me, it really is moving closer to oneness.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we are experiencing, and especially in New Thought, but everywhere, transformation and evolution and growth. And, unity especially started as, a quiet contemplative movement, and a movement where we do our own work. And that is crazy important. And when we do our work, we do affect the collective. And we are still called to apply the principles to the collective. So it's almost like this stage of development where we are being asked, can you demonstrate in the ways that have been, historically so personal, as far as like the healings that have happened and the awakenings that have happened and the expressions that have happened? Can you demonstrate that now on a collective level? And I think that's part of the calling that we're working through. So one of the things that I know is up for a lot of people in my community, I was just having a conversation about it yesterday in our Community Connect group, was how disempowered people feel sometimes when they see a system, or they see corruption, or they see discord, and it seems so insurmountable. It seems like there's no way we can break through that. Like, who am I to break through this? How do I have the power? What can I even do? I know that meditating and praying is not enough, and I'm going to get guidance and there's actions, but how could I possibly influence what's going on, as far as world peace, what's going on as far as injustice, what's going on as far as, financial inequality that just seems to keep getting larger and larger and larger when the systems seem so ingrained and so immovable.
Yeah. Well, so I think this is where our teachings really become an anchor. The fifth principle in unity is live the truth we know. And it's through prayer and meditation, but this isn't you just sit still, right? You talked about demonstration. It's about demonstrating in our lives, having experiences in our lives. And so, these teachings, I think, help to empower people. We talk about the powers within us and how we're not separate from the all there ever was, the all there is, the all there will ever be. And in that non-separation, we can access grace, joy, abundance, love, peace at any time. We really can. Now, how do we put that into motion, right? Well, one of the things is that we talked about, which I loved, is that most of us have been taught that change is something big, something massive, something that is happening, and affecting a lot of people. So if we're not able to do that, we feel like we're not contributing. When really, change can be done on really, I'm going to call them microscopic levels, right? Mm-hmm. Just impacting one. If I'm one person and I impact 100 people in one sitting, does that have any more impact than if I speak to 100 people and somehow impact those people? I'll leave some space for that. I actually don't. I think they're both very powerful. And right. I think we forget that. We don't sometimes know how we have impacted others and how many people we've impacted. Right. And so I think this kind of goes into the formless, right? Things we don't see, right? And yet we know that we can call forth the formless into the formed. So, one of the things we talked about too was about financial power. Right. And individually, we may not feel like we have much financial power, right. But there's groups of people in this country that collectively have a lot of consumer power. For example, it's my understanding, I might not have these numbers exactly correct, but it's my understanding that the Latin community is the largest consumers in this country. Used to be African Americans. Now I believe it's the Latin community. And then after that, it's the African American community. They spend trillions of dollars collectively. So when we know that, if we bond together, right, we can say no or yes, right? What are we saying with our purchasing power? Now, again, we're individuals, but we can come together. I mean, that's really kind of what the bus boycott was about in the civil rights movement. It was, we have economic power when we band together, and we can still do that.
Absolutely. And people forget that, I think, when we feel isolated in our silos or in our smaller communities, and we feel like you said, we don't have a platform or we don't have an impact, we don't have a vote in a specific issue or have the control. But great movements happen and great leaders come forth just like a slow rolling thunder of people waking up to recognizing that it's not a truth principle that we don't have power. We don't have to judge it. We don't have to kind of disempower ourselves by looking and seeing immediately. Can I tell the impact? Do I know the impact? You may never know the impact in your lifetime. So many people, so many creatives, so many artists, so many inventors, so many powerhouses don't get to see the full effect of their impact, right? I mean, their impact grows with time. And so it's like, who knows what your consciousness is a part of transforming right now, right? It doesn't always have to look big and flashy. And we're seeing the impact of the collective happening right now in Ukraine and with Ukraine and Russia. And not saying that anything is resolved right now, but we are seeing, I think, the emergence of a different system. We're used to come in with your big power and, get the United States or get someone to come in with more power and demonstrate that strength. And in this situation, we're seeing this emergence of so many people and so much creativity around how to stand up for justice, how to stand up for what's going on. And I know for so many of us, it just doesn't feel like enough. It just feels so painful from day to day to presence what's happening, because we can feel powerless. But there is something very interesting going on. The fact that, Elon Musk is in conversations, and celebrities are fundraising, and people are doing GoFundMe's in different countries. So many countries are hosting and supporting, and so many that have even, been neutral or waited are coming into the consciousness. There is a coming together. And I know for a lot of us, it doesn't feel fast enough. It doesn't feel strong enough, but it is something different that's happening. And in my heart, I am hoping that this is a transformation of consciousness that is happening right now, a transformation of consciousness around war, so that people and nations are getting it on such a deep level that this does affect all of us. And to get creative, I mean, I have not heard of seizing yachts and all of this craziness that we're hearing about right now. I don't remember hearing about this kind of thing before. There's a different emergence happening. And I think when we pay attention to that, it's happening all over. It's happening in the microcosm, and it's happening in the macrocosm.
Well, yes. And historically, even though the US and some of the larger, quote unquote, earthly powers have come in, right, to extend war, we've found that it didn't actually solve the issues, right? Yeah. There were some, I'm going to say, temporary band-aids placed. And unfortunately, a lot of other, things came out of those wars that weren't really helpful to a lot of people, right? People that may or may not have even wanted to be involved in the war, but were called to do so. And then the reactions to those people afterwards, right? So, and how their lives played out afterwards because of PTSD and different things like that. So, I don't know, we know consciously you don't fight war with war. We know that resistance doesn't help, again, in consciousness. So, when we start to have a consciousness related to peace, then we can become more creative, right? We can open up to other divine ideas that can potentially be solutions. And, one of the things also from a consciousness perspective that I know I looked at for myself was, so I say it this way: what war am I waging against myself?
Yeah.
What weapons have I picked up against myself? And again, in consciousness, what thoughts do I have about myself that are no longer helpful or have never been helpful? And how do I apply those in my life into other people? And if I'm willing to put down the weapons against myself in consciousness, can that open me up to more love? And if it opens me up to more love, can I demonstrate more love? Can other people demonstrate more love? And as we demonstrate more love, maybe loving solutions start to come into place.
Right. Maybe it's more a part of us, like we were talking about before with the millennials and generational growth. It's like it's embedded in people. It's no longer something that you have to try to negotiate at a talking table or try to solve. It's just the concept of war is an extinct concept. Like it just is not, it's not here anymore for so many. And the death cry, I think we're hearing the death cry of that type of consciousness. And we're seeing so many people rise up and really be able to see how this isn't the way to be on the planet. I mean, we've always known it, but like you're saying, if we don't do the internal work where we're not at war with ourselves and we're not at war in our lives, that's where some of the internal work happens.
Yeah, and this is where a butterfly flaps its wings, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's been proven scientifically. Now, of course, in doing that work, it then creates actions for us to do, right? That internal work, that involution creates the evolution, creates the outpicturing. So then there's something for us to do. Now, Again, what's for me to do may be different than what's for you to do. But, maybe it is for me to go into a neighborhood that doesn't grow their own food and start to create a now this isn't about war, but we're getting there, right? Maybe this is, hey, you actually have the resources. You don't know it, but you have the resources to grow some of your own food, even though it doesn't look this way. So let's create a community garden and start doing that. And now we can feed more people, and we can feed them in a more healthy way, right? So now we're not just helping people to have a different type of community and relationship with each other, but we're helping to, so to speak, not war on the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're now accessing more health and wholeness and helping people to feel more empowered. Right? And now people can make different choices based on that empowerment. And then maybe that opens them up to be able to access more thoughts, right? We already know there's studies that when children don't eat breakfast in the morning, they don't do as well in school, right? And there's unfortunately, a lot of children, just even in the US, that don't get to eat breakfast, which is,
right.
I think blows our minds when we really think about that. It's not, and it's so things are happening everywhere, and
Right.
we can have an impact everywhere. We really can.
Yeah. And that is a good example as far as, we hear about food deserts, and a lot of times that can feel insurmountable. I know one of my great minister friends lives in an area where they have those conversations about how many liquor stores are on the corners versus how many farmers markets or grocery stores. And, living in a food desert can be a struggle. And we do have the tools and the resources, just like principle, spirit, source, abundance is everywhere present. We may manipulate it, we may not see it. People may abuse or use it, for non-sacred purposes, but that resource is there,
Yes.
and it can be accessed, and we can start doing things that may seem small, but when you start doing things like that, you actually then impact the whole economy. You impact the whole structure of what's available. I remember in college, becoming a vegetarian when I was 19, and I remember people saying, that'll never have an impact. They'll never have the food you want at restaurants and places. And now it's like, there's not only vegetarian food, there's gluten-free food, there's everything in its friend at the restaurants. And it has had an impact. So these small things that we think might either just be about us or we think might not be enough to make an impact can have an impact. And I think that one of the keys is connecting with our hearts and looking at what is in front of you in your life and taking action. Like we said, it's not enough to just sit with something and pray about it. But when we get a calling, we will get a calling when we sit in meditation. We'll get a calling, and it's ours to courageously start moving forward into those things and look at what's around us and ask, how can I be of service? How can I be of impact? And trust that, and know that we're not separate from our power. So anytime we feel powerless, it's to stand in the truth principle and just ask more questions, just get curious about that, because it can't be true that we're powerless. It can't be true. And this is Holy Week. So this is the time of transformation. And, talking about the master teacher, Jesus wasn't one that walked in that had a massive bank account or a lot of assets or a lot of worldly power, a lot of military power, a lot of governmental power. He had spiritual power.
You are so on point. And we were talking about this the other day too, and we were saying how some of the things that Jesus did, they weren't big things. I mean, they've had a massive impact, right?
Yeah.
But the actions weren't in and of themselves big actions helping millions of people or thousands of people or even hundreds of people at one time, right? I mean, he just told one person, to get up and walk. Then he told another person to get up and walk, right? I mean, but these were isolated incidences, but they've had a massive impact over time. And we already know that even though, Jesus was seen and known at the time, the impact really came way after. I mean, we're talking thousands of years after, right?
Yeah.
But and that's how we know that he had spiritual power, because we're still talking about it and still recognizing him as one of the way showers in the world.
Absolutely. So that's a good invitation for everyone this week and for today, to look at any places where you might be at war in consciousness, in thought, to look at your own life and to just really take that step within, to dive inward and to look at our transformation, look at our growing edge, ask how we can serve, step forward, and to recognize that we're not powerless, that when we stand in the practice and the principle, we are actually a part of something. Something is emerging and we are a participant. We are a part of it. We might not get to know all the details or have all the answers about what that's about, but we are. If you care and you're showing up and you're listening and you're moving on your listening, you're a part of something happening.
Yes, I agree so much. Oh, that was said so beautifully. I had to hold my heart. It felt so good.
Shea, thank you so much for this conscious connecting conversation. I appreciate you, and thank you for being here today with AGNT Speaks.
Oh, thank you, and many, many anointings, everyone.
So if you want to learn more about AGNT, just go to agnt.today and you can find out more about the activities that we host, the consciousness that we share and spread, and the consciousness that you can be a part of. See you next week.
Something great is happening. Love has taken hold and it won't let go of us now.
Something here is calling us forward, upward motion, with drops in one ocean. Roll on.
Will you rise up?